we're talking about the two comics that you have coming out, I always wanted to hear like how you decide, like how you came to the decision question mark about like becoming a cartoon, like an artist. Like what was that like for you growing up? Was that a dream of yours growing up? I just want to hear about arriving at political cartoons and having that be part of your career. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do comics. I don't ever remember not wanting to do comics. So it was like a soul singular life mission. I've always been
You were a
into it.
comic
And
book
then
kid growing up. Like it was a big thing for you growing up.
yeah, and then the kinds of comics I wanted to do evolved. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to do like mainstream stuff, and then I got more into indie comics in high school, and then in college it was like the 9/11 era and the post 9/11
Ah,
era. And after in like the run up to the Iraq war, I was getting real politically active and against the war and everything else that was going on in the country at the time.
yeah.
So I started doing political cartoons, and I had success with it, and it became my career for a long time and what I was known for. And it was good for a long time, but I got pretty creatively exhausted with it after like 18 years and decided to quit because I
Just,
still wanted, yeah,
yeah, it's a lot.
yeah. I mean,
And like,
it's
I mean, like in our country and like what has been going on these past 18 years, it's just like not fun to probably constantly research and make art about either. You know what I
yeah, it
mean?
wasn't, and everybody, like everybody when I started it out in the early 2000s, everyone wasn't online all the time, and now everybody's online, and it just seems like it pervades our life in a deeper way, and sort of everyone is, what I used to proudly call myself, a news junkie, which I don't think of as a good thing anymore.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just do other things. I wanted to be engaged with the world like a normal person and do other things creatively. So like
Yeah.
going back to comic books and doing like really my first proper comic books in my life, even though I've worked in cartooning, political cartooning is kind of its own
It's a
zone that's really
monster.
kind of
Its own
within
thing.
media. It's
Yeah.
like I worked for newspapers and websites and stuff that ran news, so it wasn't like the comic book industry.
Yeah.
And just I'm going back to, I guess, my roots in a way, doing like mutant dystopian genre fiction stuff that I've always wanted to do.
Like a little bit of satire in there. You still got
Oh
a
yeah,
little bit of
this
it. I love that. But so there's two. We have Toxic Avenger 5 issue series, and then we have Justice Warriors Vote Harder, correct?
yeah. Yeah, so people are, maybe familiar with the Toxic Avenger. Obviously, it's not my character, but we're reviving it for the first time I mean, in comics in like forever.
I know, that's
Since
so
like, yeah,
cool.
yeah. I mean, I kind of couldn't believe that nothing's been done with it for a while, and I had Toxic Avenger sort of in my head as like a character that I could do something with that's sort of in my wheelhouse, and I pitched it to Trauma, and they went for it. I sort of pitched Trauma and Ahoy, my publisher for Justice Warriors, sort of simultaneously to try to match make them, and it actually worked. And here we are.
So did you grow up watching Toxic Avenger and Trauma movies? Was that a big part of you growing up? Was Toxie like a figure for you as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something that I remember well because I watched those movies when I was super young. I mean, I don't even know. I was born in '83, and I know that cartoon came out in '91, and I liked that and have the
Oh
figures,
yeah.
which I also, they're right
Oh,
there
hell
because
yeah. Oh, you have
I'm
all the
not,
little.
yeah, I'm not a toy guy, but I bought these just because I'm writing Toxie again. Remember,
Oh,
I,
that's
I I
so
remember this guy
cool.
fondly. Um, there's a, so yeah, you like those with the Ninja Turtles toys were always my jam, mutants
Hell
and
yeah.
gross stuff. Um, and then what was I gonna say with that? Just that, yeah, yeah, it was a thing that I've always been aware of and you know liked when I was a kid, but nothing was really done with the Toxic Avenger for a long time. So I hadn't gone back and watched that stuff in
Yeah.
forever. It's especially the cartoon because it's for kids.
You show your kids. No.
Yeah. Well, I
That makes
I did start watching some in prep for writing this, and I my kids did watch some with me and they liked it.
Oh, well, that's good to know. But so
Yeah.
can you tease a little bit about what you're bringing to the comic for Toxie?
Yeah, so it's kind of bringing elements from the movies and the Toxic Crusaders into a new iteration
Mm,
of
okay.
Toxie that's, updated in many ways, takes place in the modern day, and but I think is faithful to the original concepts. I mean, he's a bullied kid that is wearing a tutu and gets transformed by toxic waste, and becomes this sort of small town hero in Tromaville, the real town in New Jersey that we all know and love.
Yes, obviously very real. And then you
Yeah.
have Justice Warriors Vote Harder, which is it considered a sequel, a spin-off to the first Justice Warriors that you co-created, correct?
Yeah, I guess it's the second volume, technically
Second
a
volume,
sequel.
correct.
It's a standalone story. It
Hmm.
works on its own. But it's this world that me and Ben Clarkson make, where it's like a dystopian cop drama in a city called Bubble City in the future, which is a domed megatropolis that's perfect and crime free, and everybody in there is having a great time. And then outside surrounding it is an endless slum filled with mutants of every conceivable variety. And they not only are up to a lot of crime, but produce all of the goods that are used in Bubble City. So it's kind of in the vein of things like Judge Dredd and RoboCop, but I would say
Hell yeah.
cranked up even higher.
Hell yeah. Well, I see the Judge Dredd behind you, and Judge Dredd is a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, I'm
Especially
big into Dredd.
I love the live action remake with oh my God,
Carl
I forgot
Urban.
his name. Carl Urban. Oh, that movie is so good. I love it.
Yeah,
That's
that was
just
good. That was good. I wish they could have done even more of them, really.
oh my God, I know. But okay, you say you love mutants. You obviously there's a lot of mutant creatures in both of these. What attracts you to those kinds of creatures? Is there something about like a mutant creature that speaks to you as an artist or as a creator? Besides
You
just being
know
cool as
what?
hell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could give
Hell
some
yeah.
high-minded answer, but I think most of it is just it's a lot more fun to draw that kind of thing. And
No, I love it.
I mean, I like, like X-Men is one of my big things too. I love X-Men, but I've always
Me too.
thought I'm interested in the political aspects of X-Men that are resonant is like, that these people aren't readily accepted in society,
Yeah.
and that they're not just cool, that they're kind of scary to normal people. So it's like, well, if you look at Cyclops and Psylocke and Colossus, I mean, these people are hot as hell. Like no one's worried about them, right?
Like,
They're
yeah.
10 out of 10 walking down the street. So I like the funkier mutants, I like Glob Herman, and I like the Morlocks, and I think like even the Morlocks are abused and unrecognized even like within the world of X-Men. Like like I said, you got to be like a 10 to be on the X-Men. Like Charles Xavier's recruiting like the hottest
I
mutants in
know.
the world for his military squad. So but I guess that's part of it, is that as I like to explore
Well,
that. I mean, it's part of Justice Warriors and Toxic Avenger. And the Toxic
yeah.
Avenger, he's this bullied kid who becomes this mutated, gross hero of a town that he hates, really.
Yeah.
And then in Justice Warriors, it's all about this divide between, mutants aren't allowed in the bubble, and the bubble is kind of where the genetically normal humans live, and the mutants, which are not just like mutants from X-Men, but like the weirdest mutants we can think of. There's objects, there's literal cartoons, kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like there's like a species of mutant that's like a toon mutant and stuff like
That's
that. Like
so
it's
fun.
the craziest stuff we can think of, and that's part of it too, I guess, is like with mutants you can do everything off the wall. Like I don't necessarily like everything to be realistic.
Oh yeah. Well, and it sounds like it's just more creatively fulfilling, especially going from a world of political cartoons where I feel like there is a very particular style, there's a very particular expectation, and then creating mutants that are like all different colors and shapes and whatever you want. I just feel like that has to be
Yeah,
A very
Well,
nice
so,
creative shift for you as an artist and as a
yeah,
creator.
and I even started doing it in the last couple of years of my the career as a political cartoonist. Really, like through the whole Trump era, I started doing these. Basically, they were called like wasteland cartoons. Like I would
Oh,
go jump to like the future, Mad Max style wasteland, and I had these characters like Gorm and Tinsel, and I even had a Trump figure that was like a Morden Joe. And it was part of it was me just trying to keep myself interested because I wanted to draw wasteland figures and mutants and cyborgs because I love that stuff.
yeah,
And as opposed to just drawing, politicians talking and stuff. I mean, I'd always had some genre elements in my political cartoons sometimes, but I kind of went
yeah,
went hard on it with that stuff during the Trump era because I mean, besides how bad the news was and how bad things seemed, it just can feel like you're spinning your wheels at times because you're like making stuff that doesn't last on the shelf, right? It's supposed to be about the thing that's going on today in the news. And so
yeah.
that was me trying to kind of do something more interesting with the form, I suppose.
Yeah, one stand out too, because I also feel like there's a lot of that, like, people making their commentaries and showing their like illustrating opinions, and you want to also stand out because, like you're saying, as the news cycle has evolved so much, there more people and the internet has,
Yeah, and it's
come in.
everybody
Yeah.
is sort of issuing takes and talking about
Hmm.
the news, and it's less novel to say something about it. I mean, not everyone's doing comics, and you can do. I mean, I guess I had a lot of success online with people sharing my political
Yeah.
cartoons and everything, but yeah, I just got tired of it. I'd like to tell a longer story now. I feel like I exhausted
Yeah.
the possibilities of the editorial cartoon
Of
pretty thoroughly.
the very small short
Yeah.
cartoon. But I as soon as I heard about Justice Warriors Vote Harder, I was like, oh, it's the perfect time. And I'm assuming that cannot necessarily be an accident by any means of making a Vote Harder comic in an election year. Is that on purpose? I'm assuming it's on purpose a little bit, maybe.
Yes. Yes, but it's like, it's not intended to be just about the US or Trump
Oh yeah.
versus Kamala or Biden, who was like the nominee for the presumed nominee for most of the time we were writing it. It's what it is to, I guess, to step back a bit. Justice Warriors is this like world where the city itself is almost like a character, and
Yeah.
we want to explore the world in each volume, a different aspect of the world. So we actually describe it like
Mm.
The Wire. It's not tonally similar to The Wire in any way, but the way The Wire went to a different aspect of society that was kind of
Yeah.
linked to, not necessarily even linked to the drug trade, because they did like the media and they like just
Yeah,
how
but like
everything
that
works in the
ecosystem, like
city.
that weird
Yeah.
ecosystem of everything. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's, being
Cool.
being a political story, we thought elections was like the perfect for volume 2. And of
Cool.
course, it's a crazy world. So it's like it's their first ever election. There's a mutant running that's trying to upend things, of course, against two establishment candidates. Things get very violent. There's multiple assassination attempts, just like our own reality. When that started happening, we were like, I can't believe
You're
this.
like, we've accidentally predicted the future and we thought it was not
Yeah.
actually going to happen. And guess what? Our reality is stranger than fiction, apparently. It
Yeah,
continues to
that's kind of like
be.
the Justice Warriors thing, is that it's this weird world that's over the top, and there's like one of the cops is a poop mutant. He looks like the
Yep.
poop emoji, his head. I
Uh-huh.
mean, so it's silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but then, we do put like serious politics into it, and yeah, we end up being just ahead of the news kind of a few times actually. It happened with Volume 1 too.
Oh my God. That's cool and also terrifying. You know what I mean? Like that's gotta be like, oh,
Excuse me.
that's cool. And also, oh God, like I
Yeah,
didn't think that would
that's why we're
happen.
doing it. I mean, I think, different from my editorial cartoons where like I wanted to be newsy. Like I said, it's really not like trying to say anything about Trump or anything like that, but speaking, like, I think reading Vote Harder, the new volume, at any point in time in the next 10 years, it'll feel relevant. That's what we were really
Yeah.
going for.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the plan, going back to the Wire thing. Is like each volume will kind of deal with a different thing. Like imagine, the drug trade or sports in this
Oh
world,
God.
or
Oh no.
you know, we want to do all sorts of things.
That's so cool. And I love that kind of like diving into a world like that, especially one that you've created and like getting to know the weird intricacies of a world like that is so my thing. So that's really cool to hear like the lore building about the infrastructure of Bubble City sounds I said sounds boring when I say it, but to me that sounds very cool and very
No, yeah, we
fun.
hope people are into
That
it. I mean,
world.
we want to keep doing we honestly have ideas for 10 more volumes. Like we really hope it does well. We want to do everything with it. Yeah, we want it to be a long-running comic, just I mean, just like Judge Dredd or Hellboy or any of those creator-owned comics you
Ooh.
could name. That's the plan.
Hell yeah. Well, Matt, it was such a pleasure to talk to you about your two new works and to talk about your political cartoon career. I really appreciate it. And Toxie's out now. And when does Justice Warriors hit comic book shelves?
That's out. It came out on 9/11.
Wow,
We're
cool.
yeah, we're reclaiming 9/11. It's for Justice Warriors. It's not a bad day anymore. We don't let
Never forget Justice Warriors. I'm sorry,
keep
that
shopping
should
for comics or the terrorists win. And Toxic Avenger is out this week, which is October 9th.
Mhm.
And yeah, like you said, it's a 5 issue series. And I won't spoil too much, but I will say if you're a fan of the Toxic Crusaders, you'll see some stuff popping up later in the series.